Good evening, folks, and thank you all for joining us on another edition of the Nightmare Hunter Podcast. Joining me in the studio tonight is Robbie Jed Rains. Doc is at a family event, and Steve had to work, so you got to deal with just the two of us. But tonight we've got a couple of awesome guests. Marianne is not new to the show; you guys have seen her a couple times before, and she is back to talk about some new projects coming up. And her new co-host Jen, they have started a podcast called Bigfoot, Wildman, and Boogers. I believe that's what it is,
That's
and
correct.
it's all about Bigfoot and Bigfoot research, and it's pretty freaking cool. Y'all guys need to check it out. If you guys will be watching, the link to it should be popping up in the chat, and we will also be talking about the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference tonight, and the event for that, the link for that will also be popping up. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to these two ladies and let them tell us a little bit about what it is they do, their experiences, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Marianne, Jen, the show with the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having us tonight.
Anytime, happy to do it.
Yes, we have started a podcast, shows, whatever you want to call it. And yes, it is Bigfoot, Wildman, and Boogers. That's primarily what it's going to be. And like you said, it's about encounters. It's, we're trying to focus on a lot of the things that go on here in the state of Missouri.
Missouri, Missouri based.
Yeah, I greatly believe that Missouri is very underrated in the amount of accounts and encounters that go on in the state. And then we're also going to be doing 30-minute shorts with Jen. And if Jen wants to tell you about that, go right ahead.
Well, hi. Thanks for having us. My name is Jennifer. And I love folklore. I love ghost stories. I love scary hospitals and scary woods and all the things that go with Missouri. So I thought it'd be fun to do like 30-minute weird stories because we got a lot of fun, weird things that go on in Missouri. And so it should be fun.
So yeah, that's our show that's going on. And then of course, we always have the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference, and that happens in October. And we're doing a little bit different this year. The first night is a VIP night, and it's a dinner at the Elk Lodge here in Ozark. And we are going to be recording a podcast that has kind of audience participation with the speakers. And you can get tickets to that or the conference on Eventbrite. There's a couple of different ways that you can pick those up off Eventbrite. And Saturday is day of conference. And then once the conference is over, we do things a little bit different. We pack up and we take a select few out to camp on private property that has had activity in the past. And we're out there for about 4 days.
Yep.
It's very primitive. There's no electricity. We bring in porta potties. We have running water, and everything else is done by generator or propane. We cook. We take care of you. We're going to do nighttime expeditions. We just have a good time when we go out there. But there's been a lot of activity in that area. And then, of course, we've got a couple of BFRO expeditions coming up in September. We're going into Arkansas. It's the first time the BFRO has had an expedition in Arkansas in years. So we're going down there in September, and there's still availability on that one. And then this year, I've pushed the one back in October to over Halloween weekend. So, and there, of course, is openings for that one too. So that we've got expeditions going on and all kinds of good things.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
We try. Robbie's been on one of my expeditions. He knows what goes on.
It was
All
fun.
right.
What a good time.
Well, I'm looking forward to October.
That place has a lot of activity. The gentleman that lives there, when he first moved in, they were having rocks thrown on their roof in the middle of the night. And at first, they thought walnuts, acorns, and then they realized they had no trees over their house. Nothing that would be dropping like that, So that was like one of their things. The finding like 25, 30 pound rocks on top of stumps that they haven't placed there. that kind of thing. Um, Plastic eggs being stolen off the porch. That happened here the first year that we found out about it. So the gentleman owns the property. He lives out there, and then his son and daughter-in-law live out there also. And he had gone to town, picked up 2 flats of eggs, and brought them back and left them on his son's porch. And the son was doing chores, and he actually forgot to take them in the house. When they came out the next morning, the top flat of eggs was completely gone. It wasn't destroyed. It wasn't eaten on the spot. It was completely gone. And, those are what, 24 eggs in there, something like that. So we found out that 3 days later, they found that flat of eggs up the road in the neighbor's yard with one whole roll of eggs still in it. And the neighbor was trying to say that the dog did. You know better than that. Yeah. He's had some back in January of this year during the snow that we had. He was in the garage one night working, and his dogs are out there, and his dogs carry on, yap at everything, chase everything, right? So the door was open, and he said he heard this howl come across that sounded like a laughing hyena. He said the dogs got back in the garage real quick. He's heard that a couple of times, and he said the closest thing you can say it is a hyena. Sounds like a hyena. So I don't know what that is.
There was a very interesting, what we believe was a dogman howl recorded just down the road from Robbie.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
We've got the audio of that if you'd like to hear it sometime.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I have not had any dealings with that. Haven't heard anything, like that. I am going to the LBL over Labor Day, so maybe.
I've got the audio actually uploaded to the show if you'd like to hear it now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I told you about it when I was down there, or when I was down there, Mary Ann, but this is, I didn't have it where you could hear it. This is what I was talking about.
Okay.
So,
And this was recorded around 10 miles from where Robbie lives. This something activated this guy's Ring doorbell camera. And there's actually a little bit going on the video, because we had the video too. But there was a little bit going on, and then the howl. And what I did was I went in and I cropped all that out. So all you're going to hear is the audio. You're going to hear somehow, I don't know how I managed to record it. You're going to hear me say, "Here we go." Don't know why. I've got to crop that out. But you'll hear me say, "Here we go," and then you'll hear the howl.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Literally.
Yeah.
Find it. It's on the wrong category. Here we go. All right.
Here we go. What do y'all think of that?
Wow.
That's interesting.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, I told Robbie if we'd have heard that out at Joe Bald, we'd have gotten in the car and left.
Yeah. I can't imagine being out in the middle of nowhere hearing that.
That's definitely not like any howl I've heard.
And the funny thing is most every time we play that, somebody in chat talks about how their dog, cat, or other pet either ran out of the room or ran under the bed.
Wow.
Played it on the Bluetooth speaker here in my office, and Harley got up and left the room. He's like, "Nope, I'm out."
No, later.
Yep. I can imagine. Yeah. That's definitely
hard
interesting.
no for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah, we went looking, but couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
Although we are going to try playing that next time we go out to Moon Valley with a group of us, because Robbie did a howl out there, and we got a heck of a reaction. And it wasn't. We don't believe it was Dogman. We believe it was territorial reaction from a group of Bigfoot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Robbie and I about got ourselves surrounded. Because we're idiots and went off on our own.
Well, I know how that goes. I have done that. I tend to do that too,
You and I both did it that night, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Neither, we didn't have handlers. Nobody had had a halter on us, and we were just out and about.
Yeah, sure.
So, but yeah, that's definitely some interesting things. So I'm going to ask you guys something. So, and we're going to talk about this because we've talked about this once already, but so that the light, the UFO, the UAP that we saw this spring. Okay. So I had someone ask me if it was in I believe this is what she said. Now, the 37th parallel. Have you two ever heard anything about that?
I've heard something about it. I don't know anything about it other than I've heard people talk about that, but
was that the demilitarized zone in Korea?
Maybe.
Could have been, but this is referring to here in the United States. And so apparently that is a swatch that goes across the United States, right? Because, it's a line. And that all the way across the United States has very bizarre happenings. And guess
UFO
what
highway
area we were in when we saw that? Would be the same area that your area you're going up there and having stuff going on is happening.
Borders Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. The southern borders of Colorado, Kansas, and Utah.
So does that go through Skinwalker Ranch?
Well, you'd have. I think Skinwalker Ranch might be a little north.
It's in Utah.
Highway, UFO highway.
Could be. I mean, it could be close. And the way it was explained to me was, okay, so there is that, but then it bleeds north and south too, right? Because of the supposed energy. I mean, I'm talking out of my butt here right now, guys, because I have no idea about this stuff. This is so far not my rabbit hole, right? Yeah. But this was the way that it was explained to me. And, it's like, okay.
It does. It runs Skinwalker through 51.
LBL also.
Yeah, Gary just said it 37 cuts through LBL too. So
yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
And so DA,
it runs through Missouri.
We live in the 37th parallel.
Yeah.
That explains a lot of the weird crap that happens here. Like for example, the Mormons, they believed that the Garden of Eden is here in Missouri.
Really? I didn't know
that. It was said in the original texts of the Bible that the Garden of Eden was at the confluence of 4 rivers. And they assumed that meant the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley because they had a confluence of 4 rivers. Mm-hmm. But there are only 3 places in the world, 3 places in the entire world where 4 rivers come together. And one of them's here in Missouri.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. See, just more weird Missouri stuff, right?
Yeah. It may not be the Garden of Eden, but it's certainly a center of weirdness.
It's definitely a center of weirdness.
It is. It is.
I believe that was in a book somewhere, wasn't it, DA?
Might have been.
Yeah.
Might have been in a book.
I believe some crazy author wrote that in a book not too long ago.
Some hack.
Oh, but yeah, I found that very interesting because I had a ufologist explain that to me because I was asked about it and then the person never went ahead and, didn't tell me why they asked that. So I turned around and asked another one and they were like, started to explain that to me. And I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense now. So.
Well, it's funny you should mention that UFO video. I just happen to have that ready to play if you'd like to see it.
Bring it up.
Yeah. Would you like to give a little background before I bring her up?
Sure. So this happened on Friday night, and we had split into our groups that we were going to go out. And Robbie was with our group. There was 2 trucks of people that we had gone down to this landing, and part of the people were just absolutely going to go sit at the landing right there to the river, because there was a put in to the river right there. And the rest of us were going to just kind of walk around, because it was a pretty open area, and you would be able to therm the tree lines really well in this area. And we had actually split up. And my husband, of all people, Mr. Skeptical, it says to us, hey, you all might want to come over here and look at this, And so, we go over and we're like, what? And he's pointing off in the sky, and here's this white light that's like dancing around.
That's a very good way to put it, because that's exactly what it looked like it was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the weirdest thing. I mean, we messed with this light for over 2 hours, and when we left, it was still there. And I mean, we tried to get closer. That's when Robbie and I were off the rail, bushwhacking and all the things. We never could get close to that thing. I mean, we ended all the way back in camp thinking, okay, is it up here somewhere? It wasn't, So, I mean, it's just wild. I can't explain it.
Okay. Well, I was talking to Robbie right after that happened on the phone. He called me. He's like, "You're not gonna believe what happened." And he showed me the next day when he came by my place.
Right.
But, yeah, I was astounded. I'm like, no. I mean, I'm like, seriously. He's like, yeah. I'm like, you guys weren't down there looking for UFOs. You're down there on a Bigfoot outing. He was like, no, but he said it just was there, and we can't explain it.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking when Marianne was telling me too. I was like, wait a minute, you were there for Bigfoot, but you found this fun orb that you played with.
Hey, sometimes you go out looking for one thing and you find something else entirely.
Right.
Yeah, all thoughts of Bigfoot were out the door when we saw this, because we were all just like,
oh yeah. Yeah. We were just, yeah. Well, like I said, 2 hours of messing with it. We had to have been.
Well, folks, a little bit on this video. If you guys are watching on a handheld device like a phone or a tablet, you may have trouble seeing this because this was filmed on a cell phone. But I will play it. If you're on a bigger screen like a computer monitor, if you're watching on a computer monitor or a TV screen, you should be able to see it okay. But I'm going to go ahead and play it without further ado and let you guys take a look for yourselves. Y'all ready?
Yeah, it still blows me away to watch that.
yeah, and that was just like the very small snippet of what that thing was doing.
Yeah, because it would drop and it would move back and forth, and then there were times where it looked like it was doing circles, or flips or whatever, and
times it would look like like a heartbeat monitor on the EKG, because it would start here and it would go up and down, and I mean, it would cover the span of what looked like a football field in seconds. Like it would be over here, and the next thing you know, it was all the way over here. It just like that. It was.
You didn't hear, there was no sound or anything with it?
No.
It wasn't like a drone or anything.
No. Well, go ahead and tell it, because we had somebody come up and was it a FLIR that he had, or?
Yeah, and they could not get a hit on it. No heat coming off of it, nothing.
And it was solid white. There was no red, no green, which.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't any other lights, and it was
Wild.
It was bizarre. I mean,
that looks like a light I had follow my car Actually, I followed it, but it went the path of my car, and it was it just went straight through. And I was just like, "What in the hell?" And I was just trying to
What,
drive and
and
follow it, and it was just,
what
and it
was weird about
stopped,
it?
and I was like, "Wait, what?"
There,
Yeah.
you could watch it, and there was like a mountain. It wasn't like, I mean, it was a really big hill that was way off, and there was times that it would be below the tree line, and you could see it, like you could see the silhouette of the mountain behind
Oh,
it.
sure.
You could tell it was below the tree line, and below. But then next minute it would be way up above it. So it was like all over the place. So, and sometimes it looked like it would be coming closer to us, and then we estimate what, at least a quarter of a mile to a mile away, how far we think it was from us.
Something like that, because we went back the next morning and we had two guys that had drones, and we had them fly back up there, and there were no houses, no barns, no outbuildings, nothing, no pole lights.
I know that area pretty well. There's not a lot out there.
No, it was just woods. And I mean, they've got the video of it, and it shows absolutely nothing back there. It was just
Back on that entire road out there, there's only a couple campgrounds and maybe a few houses, but they're few and far between.
Yeah, exactly. We actually ended up down somebody's driveway trying to get to it the next day. And we're like, yeah, this is probably not a good idea. They got cameras, and we're like, oops, we're in the wrong place, and got out of there. But
waving hi, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. There was, two guys flying the drones, and I mean, there was nothing back there for it. But the even weirder thing was, we went back that night because it ended up raining, and we just weren't, it's hard to Bigfoot in the rain, it just is.
Do anything in the rain.
It is. And so we were like, yeah, nah, so we go back down there, and the Levi had been there earlier and said it wasn't there. And then we go back down there about midnight, I think it is, and it's back doing the same thing. And we sat down there and watched it 30 or 45 minutes that night. And doing the same thing. And that's like when I was telling, her name's Marjorie Kay. She does that Unex network. Mm-hmm. And she's really big into the UAPs and all that. And she was like, it was back the next night. And I said, yeah, it was there.
Well, that's definitely not a satellite. Satellites don't move like that.
No.
Well, and we saw a satellite right before we saw it.
Satellites are straight lines only.
Yeah, and because you could see it was way up above the flight pattern, and it was just moving in a linear pattern straight across the sky. And what was funny about that is, before we saw that, there were planes and things flying around. Once that thing came out, we never saw another plane.
Well, Lee had that that radio that was supposed to pick up like all the frequencies, and he's like, this is the weirdest thing. He goes, there is nothing out here. There were no planes. He said he could even pick up the first responder stuff on that, and that was not even on there. Well, it was like,
I think I heard him say that's supposed to scan from like 100 to 900 band.
Yes
Because it kept doing the it kept going from like 200 to 400, and it just got caught in a loop. It would never go scan full range. It was just scanning from like 200 to 400 megahertz or whatever it is in a constant loop, and it wasn't picking up anything.
Yeah, and he was wigged out by that, because he goes like, that's not what it's supposed to do, and he was a little worked up over that. So, and when I messaged him the next night and told him, I said, that thing was back. And he's like, it came back after I left. I'm like, yep. We went back out there, and, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long it stays out there. We probably could have sat out there for hours and it would have been there. I mean, I don't know.
Well, like you said, we were out there at least 2.5 hours watching it that night. And it was just constant back and forth. It was random patterns. It wasn't like it would go just back and forth like a ping pong ball. It would go up, it would go down, it'd go like it was doing, like Marianne said, like it was doing flips, and it's just it would come closer to us and go further away. It was just weird.
Yep, it definitely was.
But if you asked like the FAA or something, they'd probably tell you it was swamp gas reflecting off Jupiter, off bumping off the atmosphere. I'm like, come on, yeah, it's just going to move all over the place. That happens all the time. But it's always that excuse. Oh, it was a weather balloon. No, weather balloons don't move like that.
They don't move sideways.
No, they don't move like that. They don't
Quickly.
shoot across, a football field that quick.
Right.
It's wild. I mean,
Like, okay, you can think we're that dumb, but okay, whatever, fine.
Yeah, exactly.
However, the government is becoming more and more forthcoming about UFO information. So,
well, I think they almost have to at this point. There's so much.
yeah, it's really tough to deny it.
It is, and they finally have to come around and say, okay, they are out there.
Everybody's got a phone now. Everybody's recording something. Everybody's just it's getting smaller.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then it was I don't know, a month and a half later, we were over in the West Plains area, and we were doing an event, and we were staying out at an Airbnb that was absolutely at the end of a road. Okay. I mean, this
Those
is
are
how
the best.
Right? That movie.
And it was great. We were sitting, my cousin and I, one of the cook ladies, we were sitting out on the porch, and it looked out over, and of course we'd been whooping and carrying on, right? We had to, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and we're sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, it was the weirdest thing. It was like all of a sudden there was just this light explosion in the sky, and it was like it goes real big and then it just goes little, and it was shot off to the side. And I looked at her and I said, oh my gosh. And I'm telling her, and she goes, nope, that's it, I'm out, I'm done. She goes, bails in the house and gets in bed and covers her head up. She's like, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing that. Leaves me outside by myself.
Well, another thing though that was weird about that light, because like you said, Levi was there, and that's his thing. He's a
ufologist.
He knows more about that than any of the rest of us. And he said it did not act like a normal. He got a green laser and it didn't react to the green laser like most everyone he said he's ever seen react. He was baffled.
Yeah.
Wild.
Well, and he was funny to watch because I didn't realize he had that much tech on him. And it was like he kept throwing things on the ground and pulling things out and doing things. And, I'm like, where is all of this going?
Like a Ghostbuster pulling out his pack.
Yeah.
Essentially,
that was
Mary Poppins. Yeah.
And he and I sat up till about 2:00 that morning after we got back to camp talking. He was wired about. He was just like, man, he said, this is all so cool, but he said, I just don't know what in the world that thing was. We were looking at it. No guess.
Yeah, we don't either. Join the club. We don't either.
Yep.
Still don't. Yeah, still don't. So
still don't. At least you're entertained too. It's like TV, outside TV.
Yeah. Well,
I'd rather be out in the woods than watching TV, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was the live stream.
Yeah, there's so much more out in the woods that goes on that people don't really realize until you're out there, paying attention. So,
right.
But yeah, so interesting stuff. And then we had an expedition in Oklahoma this spring, and that's the first one that the BFRO has done in quite a while out there. And we were just in a very small town, small community, and a native community for the most part. And those people talk about it like it's no big deal. Everybody down there knows they're around. And they talk like that to you about it, and they're like, well, yeah, you go up here on so-and-so road, and if you go down here and go here and go here, he's like, they're down there, and we're like, okay. So we went out. It was so funny. So the first night we were out, our radios were not working. Imagine that, right? And we were stationed on this road, in intervals. And the group that I was with, we were on the high point of the hill, and everybody else is stationed in between us. And we have this native gentleman, Brandon Squirrels, with us. And he was telling us about the encounter he had. And so we said, we'll do the kind of call that you got, right? And he did. And let me tell you what, I heard, if I was out in the woods and I'd heard that, I'd have been out of there too, right? I mean, I wouldn't have been staying to see what that was. That was pretty wild. And we're kind of giggling about it sitting there. And he got a response back to it. And he looked at us and he said, oh my gosh. And it was not that far from us, right? And what was funny was there was another gentleman who had just walked past us and was up the road a little ways. He comes back and he goes, a heads up next time. He said, I just about shit my pants.
That's what we refer to on here on our show. We refer to it as a brown pants moment.
Exactly.
Brown for sure.
He was just like, he was like, oh my gosh, and so, we were kind of laughing about it. But yeah, it was, it was like, it was really cool to hear that, when Brandon did that. So that was really interesting. And that was Thursday night. And then Friday night, we ended up back in that area because it was just such a good area. Because years ago, that area, there was a couple of gentlemen that had gone down there, and they kind of done the same thing. They parked on top of the hill and they were just sitting up there, right? And right before daylight, they could hear two of these on either hill, and they were coming down the hill. And as they were coming down, they were whooping back and forth to each other. They're like, whoop, 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 whoop. And, like they were talking to each other as they came down the hill. And when they got to the bottom and met, the whooping stopped. And along the road, it runs along the river there. And in the bottoms, there was a native gentleman who he was older. He would sit in his garden during the day, right? Just sit there. And he talked about seeing it was either white or gray one that was hunting deer. And because this guy just sat in his garden all the time, I guess they got so used to him that they would just come through there and pay no mind to him. Same house, there was a little basketball goal there. And because there's just a few little houses down there in that area. And little boys out playing and, shooting the basket, and he missed. And so he went to go get the basketball, and he picked it up. And when he stood up and looked back in the grass from him, there was a young one standing there just about his height. It was only about 3 or 4 feet tall, and it was brown. So there's like just all kinds of stuff right there. Well, Saturday, we were out doing some daytime stuff, and everywhere we went, we found stuff. It was wild. We actually got lost at one point. We're all out of the truck, standing talking, and along the side of this dirt road, and they found a track right there where we're talking. I mean, it's like you could tell it was old, but you could still see it. And we're like, we're lost and we're finding crap. This is ridiculous, But we were going back down one of the roads that we had been on, and all of a sudden the truck behind us is gone. And I'm texting them. They're not answering. I finally called them and I said, where are you at? And they're like, we think we just had a daytime sighting. I'm like, we turn around and go flying back, right? And as we're headed back to them, their SUV sitting in the middle of the road, all 4 doors are open and there's nobody there. It looks like it's just been abandoned. Well, they're all in the woods right next to it there.
Right. Right.
And so I'm crawling through the woods over there, and this guy's standing there. I said, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. And he goes, well, we were driving, and he's like, we thought we saw a structure, right? So they stopped and they all got out. And so this gentleman was where he had stopped. The other 2 gentlemen, they'd found a game trail and they'd hopped on it and had taken off down the game trail, right? So this guy's standing there and he's just staying put. And he says he catches movement out of the corner of his eye. And he said he kind of slowly starts to turn toward that. And he said he can see this upright figure walking at an angle toward him. And he said, my brain kept saying, what is the landowner doing coming at me? He kept landowner. But he said, part of my brain is going, why is the landowner dressed in head to toe brown? Right. And he said it comes at him for a while. And then all of a sudden it just turns and goes right on the game trail that's like 20 yards in front of him. And he said, I can see it. He goes, it's walking, but he said the trees occasionally are blocking it out. But he goes, it's just walking on the game trail in front of him. Now these guys are on this game trail on down a ways, right? And he's thinking, okay, they're going to run into this, right? So a few minutes, here they come back up. And he's like, did you see it? They're like, see what? He's like, there was one on this trail. He goes, it was about 7 feet tall, and it had, the Auburn.
You miss him,
huh?
How could you miss him?
Right? You would think, right?
Guy.
And so they're like, no, we didn't see anything. And he's like, they had to be within feet of it at some point. Because if they were coming back up and it was going down, they had to be within feet of each other. But, you know how they do. They step off the trail and you can't see them.
Right.
But yeah, this guy stood right there and just watched it all play out in front of him. Middle of the afternoon. So, and we also found out about a place down there that the locals won't go. They don't like it. They don't like how it feels. They won't go. And I was like, well, that's where I want to go.
Exactly. I was just thinking, I wonder if she'd tell me where that's at, because I want to go there.
Right.
Yeah,
well, they told us. So they waited and told us this until like Saturday late. Right. And so they basically told us they want us to come back and that they would take us there next year. They won't necessarily go in with us, but they'll take us there. So you'll have to go to Oklahoma with us.
When I was in my early 20s, right after I got out of the Army, I was sitting in my apartment up in Lebanon. This is before I met my wife. And one of my cousins calls me. And he's like, hey, what are you doing tonight? I said, nothing. I don't work tonight. He's like, something killed one of my coon dogs. You want to go help me hunt it down? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I jumped in the car and drove out to his house. And we hopped on the four-wheelers and went way back in the woods behind his house. And one of his neighbors came with us, and his neighbor was you could tell he was Native American just by looking at him. He was like mostly Cherokee. When we got back to a certain point in the woods, and everything was just absolutely dead quiet. And John and I start looking around, seeing if we can track what had killed the dog. And Dave, he comes over and he goes, boys, get on the four-wheelers, do it slowly. We need to get out of here. And I said, why? And he wouldn't say. But I've never been back to that spot because it was freaking weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's like, so Robbie, Levi had his calling home device, right?
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest thing. He was trying to do that out there in Oklahoma, and that thing would not put out, the sound would not carry. And we were on top of a hill one night, and it would not carry. And he goes, this is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah, that thing's loud.
It is, right? And
I didn't know he had it. We thought it was somebody riding a four-wheeler
right
when we first heard it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. He can make it really loud. And when there was the abandoned house, and it was really weird because there's this driveway to it, and this house sits just up on a little like knoll, right? And then behind it is nothing but woods. And the yard, the grass is probably 4 feet tall, and we're wading through this. And we've had people at this house every night. And they're all talking about, just the odd feeling and that kind of stuff. And the second night, we end up at that house. And it's like, I had a couple of people that were just like, I'm out. They're like, I can't handle whatever this is. Right. Yeah. And at that point, I wanted to go back in the woods so bad. but it was starting to sprinkle, and I was like, I was having to fight taking off and going to the woods because we had walked that whole property. So the whole road. So me and two other ladies, we actually walked from where they had the Class A sighting up on the top of the hill. And now we lit ourselves up. We actually made ourselves bait that night. And all the rest of the people were positioned at different places on the road and told to be quiet and just observe as we came through, right? And so it was really funny. We had more possums come out of the woods that night. It was the wildest thing. It was almost like something was chasing them out of the woods. And they were coming on the right-hand side is where they were coming out of the woods at us.
Kind of like armadillos coming up to you.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. And so we were like, that's really wild. Possums, armadillos, they're all coming out of the woods at us, right? And we had a gentleman that was tailing us, but he was like completely blacked out. We weren't on the radio unless, I'd say, hey, I got movement on my left, or I would do that with him and he would just be like, Roger, and so he was keeping track of stuff. Sure. And at one point we had red eye shine just for a split second, but at one point we got to another group and the owls lost their minds and they were in the tree above us, but they just absolutely came unglued. And it was right after that when we had the red eye shine. And all of this was on the road that led down to the abandoned house. And like I said, we ended up down there. Every night there was something going on down there. It was just, it's one of those places that you could go back to. And there is a local couple that goes to this part of the road a lot. Mm-hmm. And they have recorded whoops and howls. I mean, all the time. They spend a good amount of time out there and they just sit in their vehicle and put their parabolic on top of it. And they're getting all kinds of stuff out there. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's a hot spot for sure. So
sounds like it.
Yeah. We'll definitely be going back next year at some point because there's just too much
that I routinely go that never disappoint.
Yeah. Well, and we're finding that too. There's places that it's just no matter when you show up, something's going on. So there's
one of the viewers of the show that sent us a video she took near her house. We were just talking about it the other night on the show, but if you guys would like to see the video, I still have it set up. It's pretty creepy.
Go ahead, show us. Yeah, we're down.
I like creepy.
I would love to get your opinion on it. So
okay,
let me play this video. Let me make sure I've got the right one queued. Yep, that's it.
Shit.
Wow.
At the end, it popped up real close.
That scared the crap out of me.
Well, it's like
it covered a lot of distance pretty quick.
It did.
Well,
it did.
Just
Okay, I sent you something, DA. Look at that. And it's Just a split, just a little bit, but tell me if that don't look close to what that was.
Mike
Did
said he
you?
had that too.
Let me see if I can download this. Give me a second, because then I can just. Oh yeah, absolutely. Give me just a second. I'll upload that. I love it when stuff works out like that. It actually let me download it. So let's upload this rascal. Do you want to set this clip up?
This was one of the nights on the spring expedition that Robbie was on. And this was Levi got this. And poor Levi, this is his first Bigfoot expedition. This boy was on overload, right? This happened at like 2:30 in the morning. And he'd heard something and he got out there and started looking around, because actually the very first night, Wednesday night, before anybody got there, he got there early with us. And there was a scream at like 2:30 in the morning. Well, a night or two later, he gets this video across the road, same place that the scream came from. And he was just, he didn't know what, didn't know what to think of it. And he was so excited, he didn't stay on it, right? He should have stayed on it. But he's got a little bit here. So it's very close to what you had. So.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see it. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Did you see right there at the end? It looked like something was coming closer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That was across the road from where we were camping, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me just a second. I've got to do something.
Didn't you say that was right where you said that all the trees or whatever had been pushed over or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody had been in there and brush hogged, and there was almost like they were trying to start a pond or something back there. And there was a lot of trees and everything back there. But yeah, that was in the middle of the night. Levi was out getting that. And yeah, that, reminded me of that, what you were showing there.
Well, that's pretty much the same thing that DA and I saw in Joe Ball that night too. And it's identical to what I told you. Remember I told you about my eye shine at LBL?
Yeah.
Exactly like that too.
There. Right there.
Yep.
As it's starting to turn, you can see part of a head.
Mm-hmm.
Same shape as Maggie's.
Yep.
Let me see if I can go. And right in here, there's the shape of something moving.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
It's a little closer now, too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Folks, you in the audience, watch this too. Y'all, keep an eye on this section right here. I'm going to go back about 10 seconds and just let it play.
Oh, it's moving. Yeah, you can definitely see it moving. It turns sideways and
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go back just a
Yeah,
couple
I
seconds.
saw like it's side.
Watch this spot right here. Starts moving. There.
Yep.
Yep.
It was
Yep.
actually walking through the frame right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Woo!
Yeah. I think Cole said, is it just me or did it drop down on all fours? It looked like it kind of.
Yeah, it went from about 6 feet to about 4 feet. It dropped down quite a bit.
And see, that was right across the road from us. And there was another couple of gentlemen that during the day when we were doing, I think we were just talking and doing some stuff like that, Sharon. And one of the gentlemen, he just felt like we were being watched. And so they started taking some pictures. And it's like, there could be something in it, I mean, it's hard to not go, okay, we don't want to do the whole pareidolia thing, but it's interesting to say the least that, there was something going across the street over there. And that's not usually where we even camp in that.
And that's here in Missouri, right?
Yes, that's in Missouri. We usually normally camp down on the river, and we had to camp up top this time because the river was so flooded when we went. So I wondered if it made a difference, that we were on top of the hill up there this time. But in that area, so the gentleman that does maintenance, he's in the campground all the time, lives there year round, right? He said that, about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning, if you have your coffee and you're outside, you can hear him whooping around there almost every morning, right before daylight.
Wow.
So, yeah, they're all over the place along the river up there.
And I don't know if you remember me saying this, DA, but Mary Ann found a deer leg done exactly the same way as the ones we found in Joe Bald.
We found at
Little
least
dollar.
6 totally deer that have been ripped apart, not cut apart, but limbs twisted and snapped off. We found at least 6 times that's happened, including once down at Blunk Road when we were driving Blunk Road, middle of the night, nobody around for miles. I've got my bright lights on. Robbie's in the passenger seat. I'm driving. My son Noah's in the back seat. And as we're rounding a corner, I got my long beams on. We're heading down toward the river, and I start slowing down. I'm like, Robbie, what in the hell is that? And Robbie looks ahead because I think his eyesight's a little better than mine at night. He leans forward and looks at it and goes, "Is that a deer head?" And it was. It was a deer head laying in the middle of the road.
Yep. Oh yeah, I grew up on Blunk's Road. Mm-hmm. I know that stuff. Yep, exactly.
Road's a creepy area.
Yep.
Yeah,
with that last bend you make before the straightaway that leads down to Blunk, that leads down to the river. That's where it was, right there on Blunk Road, right in the middle of the road, about 50 yards from the river.
You got a video of it, do you, of when we were out there looking at it?
I'd have to find it, but I've got video of it.
Yeah. Well, the deer leg that he's talking about. So it was in the area that we had been on the first night where, Robbie and them had some action in the trees. And, we had all the weird stuff that happened down there. And we went back during the day and we were looking around. And there's you can primitive camp down there. And there's some kind of trails off. And we were doing a little bit of that. And came back in. And I'd been off on one, came back in, and Robert's like, "You better come over here and look at this." And it was the weirdest thing. So there's just this one deer leg laying there, nothing else. And it wasn't twisted, it was snapped. And I took it back to camp because we have hunters there, right? These guys are out all the time. So I wanted to know, was this um, you know, a cut, because I mean, it was fairly clean, but yeah. So I took that deer leg back to camp and I'm like, tell me what you see here, you know? And they're like, that's not a cut. That's a snap. And they're like, and that has to be something that has a lot of strength to snap a deer leg like that. And the other thing that I found down there that I thought was really weird too was there was a stick just stuck in the ground out there by that. And it's like you could tell there hadn't been a whole lot of activity down there. There wasn't any fresh camping or anything like that. So it was really kind of odd, just some of the stuff that we found down
Isn't
in
that
that
what, like Shane was talking about that one time with the sticks and
This
finding
is a,
sticks and digging?
yeah, this is different. This didn't, it
Oh.
wasn't like a dugout hole. It was just a stick
Just a
shoved.
stick, okay.
Yeah, shoved
Here's
in.
a few of the pictures that we've taken.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah, that has been twisted and yanked off.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fish head that had been torn off and stuck in a tree
Oh my.
right off the trail. We call it the Missouri tree trout. This is my son and I found this last October. The hide of that deer has not been skinned off like you'd use a knife. It's been peeled off like you would a glove.
That's wild.
In fact, right back here, I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see right there is part of the backbone.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
The eyeballs are missing, the tongue is missing, and the lower jaw is missing. And the hide has been peeled off like it was a glove.
Wow.
That's wild.
Another shot of it. And near this same one, we found these. And you can see these are not cut. You can see the jagged bone sticking out.
Yeah,
Which that right there looks exactly like what you found, Marianne.
it does. Yeah, it does.
And we found these at Joe Ball down on Table Rock Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can see this isn't cut. That bone is snapped.
Just
Yep.
like, yeah.
And these were teeth marks where something had been gnawing on the meat that was still attached to the bone.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. You might be able to. Yeah, you can actually see some of the teeth marks.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And Noah and I were out there by ourselves, and when we found that, we took some pictures, and then we were looking around and realized how quiet it was, and I'm like,
Let's go.
Oh.
you should start.
There we go. Want to go? Go.
We weren't very far from the car. We were maybe 50, 60 yards. We'd hiked back from the road.
Yeah.
But once we got pictures of this and then realized how quiet it was around us, we only had pistols on us. And we'd like, okay, it is time to start heading for the car.
That's funny. Yeah. Oh, I understand. I get it.
Oh, this is part of what we found down in the end of Blunk Road. Also, this hide has been removed like it was gloved.
That's wild.
Oh, wow.
The top of the skull is actually missing, and so were the brains from that deer.
That's interesting.
Oh, here you go. This is the head.
Oh, and this. Okay.
This is down on Blunk Road.
Yeah, that would be a little bizarre to drive up on that in the road.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of nowhere.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And you can tell that's not cut off. That's all jagged and
Yeah.
not even. And
That's.
also the soft tissue of the nose, the tongue, and part of the lower jaw were missing.
Yeah.
The horns were gone like somebody had cut those off, but the damage to the deer was not done with a knife.
Wow. Mm-mm-mm. It's interesting. I mean, it makes you go, what?
Hmm.
You know.
And the fact that you found dismembered deer like that really kind of corroborates what we found.
Yep. Yeah. It does. It does. Yeah. Because that was just bizarre. It was just a piece of the leg, laying out there in an area that camps, that you can camp in, like primitive camp, but you can still camp down by the river. So it was just wild. And I mean, we looked for other pieces, and there wasn't anything else around. It's just that one piece dropped right on the edge of the camp area, and we never could quite figure that out. It's like, well, why is that there? And it hadn't been gnawed on. I mean, you could tell it was old because it wasn't fresh. So I don't know.
The ones we found have all been pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
one
except for the tree trout. It looked like it'd been there for a couple of days.
But the deer hide on the other side of the road, it was pretty fresh because it was like 85.
And the blood was still red.
And the blood was still red on the tree and on the ground. And for blood to still be red, we asked Doc and Steve both on that. Or Steve was there that night, and he was, his paradigm shift. You could actually hear the gears grinding in his head when he looked at it. But Doc pretty much said for that blood to still be that red during that heat, that it would have had to been within probably 30 minutes. I think is what he said. DA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because blood tends to oxidize pretty fast. I've worked enough crime scenes to tell you it starts turning a rusty brown pretty fast.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't stay red long. I mean, yeah.
And that what was on that tree and on the ground beneath it were still red.
That's wild. Yeah, I think on that one you'd be like, okay, yeah, let's
Oh no, we kept going like the idiots we are.
Well, we always do. I mean, that's like
Well, the discussion kind of went like this. I think this is a territorial marker. Yeah, I do too. You want to keep going? Well, hell yeah, we're going to keep going.
Sure.
Well, last year we were camping out on the private property for the conference, right? And we took a group of us up above the gentleman's house. And it's a Missouri hill, right? So we're climbing it, and the back half of the people that are in the group are being growled at. And the front part of the group didn't hear it. And then we get up to the top, and what we ended up deciding to do was we had a lot of people back off, and Nona Boss and I sat down and made ourselves bait, right? We're sitting under a tree, and she looked at me and she goes, what are we going to do if something comes running out of the woods? And I said, we ain't getting up fast enough to get away from it, girl. We're going to sit here and just take it at this point. We're laughing about it. But my buddy Shane was out there with us, Shane Carpenter, and he was therming, and he was getting a thermal hit that was coming up somewhere between 5.5 and 6 feet. And it was a head and shoulders. And he was just getting it for just seconds, but it was moving around us out there. So it's like they come in, they're so stinking curious, they can't help it in a lot of times, especially if humans aren't in those areas that much. They got to see what us hairless apes are doing, check us out and see. But yeah, they were checking us out there that night big time. And, luckily out there, most things that happen are not ever aggressive. We haven't had anything aggressive out there happen, but I've heard that you've had some things. So, and you just keep going back.
Well, yeah. Not only are we gluttons for punishment, we just really love it.
Definition of insanity.
It is. And it's like, it's an adrenaline rush. You're out there and you're like having that brown pants moment, like you said. But boy, when you get back to camp and you're talking about it, and then the next day it almost gets comical, so it's like, okay, we got to go back and see if we can top that one,
There have been a number of occasions where we've been standing shoulder to shoulder with weapons out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When we were getting out of Combs Ferry, we were standing almost knee deep in water with our weapons out.
Yeah, that was a long wait for that boat to come back that last time.
Yeah,
That was the longest 20 minutes of my life.
I bet. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, luckily we haven't had, too much like that. I mean, we've had some close things, but I never felt threatened by any of them, you know. Um, so, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush for sure.
Oh, definitely is.
Yeah, definitely.
But then when you actually come home with something like pictures of these deer parks or the videos of the ice sharing, when you come home with something like that you can share and show people, you're like, see, I'm not crazy.
Exactly.
I've showed several of those to my wife. I'm like, honey, look at this. See, I'm not crazy for believing in Bigfoot. She goes, oh, you're crazy, but I just think it's really out there now.
Right.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
You're crazy because you keep going back out there.
Well, it does become an addiction. I mean, it really does. Because, I find when haven't been able to go out for a while, it's like you become stir crazy just to get out to the woods again,
Yeah.
And it definitely is, The thing that I seem to be finding a lot here lately are feathers. It's like everywhere I go, feathers, feathers, feathers in the woods, everywhere, and I'm like, okay, so we went from bones to feathers. Okay. don't know what significance. I mean, there's a lot of significance to feathers, but how it pertains to Bigfoot, I don't know, even if it does.
It has similar significance to them as it would to Native Americans.
That's, that's kind of what I've thought before too. So
Right.
like when I find things like that, I always try to reference something Native American to figure out, okay, what do these in Native American culture mean? So yeah, I do try to do that, and go from it with that. But yeah, feathers seem to be the thing that I find or have been finding lately. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what we come up with the next go round. Because like I said, we're going to Arkansas in a couple of weeks. So hopefully it cools off. Or no, I'm going to be in the LBL in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks after that, I will be in Arkansas. So it'll be interesting. I've never been to the LBL before.
LBL is interesting.
So I'm excited. I'm excited. I've heard there's parts of it that are quite creepy. So
Yeah. Me and Johnny were out there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it was dead quiet in Demumbers Bay. Nothing. No, you could hear crows across the lake, but nothing in Demumbers Bay where we were at. And I looked, and DA loves this part. I tell you, because I looked at Johnny and I'm like, I would not be surprised if Jason Voorhees stepped out from behind a tree. That's just a feeling. It was just, it looked like you were in a horror movie. It was just the way it was eerie, quiet. We were finding fish bones, but we didn't find it. There was no possums. There was no armadillos. There was nothing. All we found was fish bones and fish remains scattered all over the shoreline and up into the woods. And we were just like,
you're like, okay. That's definitely interesting, But yeah, wild stuff. But yeah, we're going to go down there for a weekend. There's the Squatch Out is going on. And so there's going to be a few people down there for Wayne's event. And
That'd be a cool event to go to. I need to go to it.
Yeah. I know the other day he still said he had a spot or two open. You might reach out to him. He's going to feed us a couple of meals, and we've got some nighttime hikes planned. So
That sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, it's like you need to go down there with us. Like I said, I haven't ever been down there. A couple of the guys that are going have been. There's a local researcher that's agreed to take us out to some places. So I really think it's going to be an interesting time. I'm excited. So
That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
yeah, right. And then
What part of LBL are you going to?
Colson's Hollow. They've reserve that whole camping area?
If you get a chance to go to DeMumbers Bay,
Okay.
there's just something about that place, just the way it feels. I got ran out of DeMumbers Bay on my first night there. But you go there in broad daylight, it's still one of the creepiest places I've ever been.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like it's on the list. Got to try that creepy stuff,
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, that's definitely want to go that way. And then, like I said, we're going to go into Arkansas in September, and that'll be interesting. I mean, of course, we all know what's been going on, in Arkansas here lately, double homicide in the national park down there. But luckily that's all been taken care of.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's some wild stuff, but
I've gotten a lot of really good sightings out of Arkansas, too.
I've gotten quite a bit of information out of Arkansas recently. So, it's kind of like Missouri. I mean, it's got the perfect habitat.
There's something about the Ozarks.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, and so I had a gentleman reach out to me not long
37
ago,
parallel.
and his daughter lives in the Mark Twain right now, right?
Oh,
Right?
I could tell you a lot of stories about the Mark Twain.
Well, so when she first moved there, he was already messaging me about it, right? And I said, well, he's like, just checking, because he lives out of state. He kind of knew, but he was messaging. So a couple months ago, I get a message from him one day, and he's like, he sends me this picture of handprints on windows, very large handprints. Now, they're not ridiculously high or anything, but the handprints are just really large and kind of smeared, like greasy, right? And he's like, exactly. He's like, these were on my daughter's window, and they live in the middle of the Mark Twain. They have no neighbors, right? I'm like, okay. And he said, so, we just start talking. And he said, she's talking about hearing the mountain lions. And I'm like, it's not here. She's not hearing mountain lions. I said, I'm not saying we don't have them, but she's not hearing them. She's not going to hear those. You're not going to hear one of those, right? And so then they're used to working with bears, her and her husband. So they know how to deal, right? And she finally told her dad one day, she's like, well, we saw something very large and very dark. And she goes, if it's a bear in Missouri, it's a grizzly.
Has it been a documented? Well, there was one in northern Missouri last year before, but the last grizzly was reportedly killed in Missouri in 1867, I think it was.
Yeah. So, that's not what she's seeing, but her mind has to say it's a bear, right? So yeah, she's got activity. Well, when he finally gets done telling me, talking to me about all this, the end of the story, Mama has a baby, a 7-month-old baby, and they are at home during the day alone.
That's a common denominator.
Right?
Yes, it
Right.
is.
So I went, okay, you should have told me that first.
Yeah, should have opened with that.
Right?
I think that's why Maggie's having the stuff that she's having. The one that sent the video that we just showed earlier with the eye shine.
Yeah.
Her husband's an over the road trucker, and he's gone a lot, and she's there by herself a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's having a lot of activity.
Yeah. Well, I have a
Cindy
lady-
Bailey wants to know, hey, Jen, have you encountered any wild things happening in your neck of the woods?
Not too wild in the Twin Cities. I haven't had the chance to get up north yet this spring, but no, Twin Cities not too wild.
But yeah, we've got
But the North Shore for sure.
Yeah.
Up in the Boundary Waters, oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a conference happening in your neck of the woods here in a month or two too. So, but no, there's a lady in Arkansas that was, when she first reached out to me, she thought these things were, that she was really having some issues, that maybe they were becoming violent, things like that. So we went back and forth with different things. We'll come to find out her father had passed away in the last year. And her father were always out in the garden together and things like that. And it went from her and her father always being out there to now it was just her. And they were coming in closer. But she didn't tell me that for a long time, right? That was finally toward the end of the story. She finally says, well, and my dad passed away. And so a lot of this stuff's been going on since he passed away. And I'm like, well, okay. So I told her, I said, if it bothers you, have your husband outside with you. Make the male presence known a little bit more, I said, and you'll see a difference, because I said, females are just not intimidating to them. They're just not. And she was like, well, that makes sense. I hadn't thought about that, And she said, since her husband does go out with her more, she doesn't have as much of an issue. But, she also she's put up a couple of trail cams, which have gotten torn down. They got up the other day and on the carport, there was a little rock left that wasn't there the night before. And it was just placed on top of something, just little things like that, and she's like, okay, so maybe it's not so bad after all. So, but yeah, just all kinds of stuff going on all over the place, just have to talk to the right people.
When my wife and I were vacationing up in the Smokies, we rented a cabin up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of nowhere, which is exactly what I wanted, because I wanted a place where there were no distractions so I could write. And I do this tongue pop, and I think part of what people have always associated with wood knocks, I think they do it with their tongue.
I agree with you. I think that's exactly what they do.
Well, I did that the first night we were in the cabin on the balcony.
Yeah.
I didn't get a response, which I was like, oh yeah, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But the cabin was built on the side of the mountain, and the actual bedrooms and everything were on the lower level. And you entered in the kitchen and the living room on the upper level, because that was at ground level,
right?
Where the parking area was. So I did that out on the upper balcony, and we went downstairs to go to bed. It was probably close to midnight, and the master bath was just off the bedroom downstairs, and I was sitting in the bed, getting ready to go to sleep, and Annette went in the bathroom. And said something. She says, "Hey, something growled at me outside the window." And I'm like, "That's probably a bear. I mean, we're in the Smokies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything about it." Then while she's in the bathroom, something slaps the side of the cabin like 3 times, like bam, bam, bam. Well, she comes in there, gets in bed. She's like, "I'm not staying in there. I don't know what the heck that is." Yeah, that's not bear. That's not a bear behavior. And I'm not really thinking about it until the next day when I go out on the lower balcony and realize that bathroom window that she was at that got growled at is about 4 feet off the ground. There's no way there was a black bear outside that window.
No.
But I'm not thinking too terribly much about that. I got up just shortly before sunrise, went up, made some coffee, and I go out on the front deck. And I'm sipping my coffee and looking at the sunrise and looking at all the haze over the Smokies.
Yeah.
And I'm just enjoying my coffee. And I think, I'm going to go look on the side of the cabin where we heard that hit, because it was like on a 45-degree incline. It was literally built into the side of the mountain. So I go over and I have to move a tree branch to look down, and I notice something, and I'm like, "Honey, come here." And I don't know what I'm seeing. I'm not saying anything. I'm like, she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Look out here and tell me what you think." And she comes over and leans out the window and she goes, "Good God, that's a huge footprint." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right there where you got the side of the cabin slapped." And she's like, "How big is that thing?" I said, "Well, we're 20 feet above it, so it looks pretty big. I'm gonna have to go out and get a look at it." So I go out, managed to climb down that. Like I said, it was about a 45-degree. It was a rough climb down. I managed to get down to it, and I'm taking pictures of it. This thing is between 18 and 19 inches long. It's about 1.5 inches deep into rocky soil. And you can see other partials of wherever it went, wherever it was going. It was going away from the cabin, up the side of the bluff and into the trees. But that one track was just absolutely perfect. I wanted to cast it, but it was on a steep incline. So I go in the house and I show her the pictures. She goes, "How big is it?" I go, "Well, I put one of my business cards in the picture for reference." She's like, "Oh my God." And so she's like, "How big is that track?" I said, "I'm guessing between 18, 19, 20 inches long, somewhere in that ballpark." And you can see the toes, you can see the heel. Sent the picture to Robbie. Robbie's like, "Jesus Christ." But so I tell my wife, I said, "I guess whatever, when I popped my tongue, it didn't answer, but it came to see what the heck was going on."
Oh, sure.
So now I'm absolutely forbidden by her anytime we go anywhere together to pop my tongue. I can't do it. She doesn't want it happening. She says, "If you pop your tongue, I will get in the car and go home."
Oh, that's funny. Well, a few years ago, I mean, in the spring and fall, I like to throw all the windows open, and sleep with the windows open, right? And one spring, I had the windows open. Now, I live in Ozark, okay? And so I live in the older part, and I'm down by the river. I mean, we've got a creek, we've got a river, we've got some woods, middle of the freaking night. It's like 3 o'clock or something. Anyway, something wakes me up. My dog is laying on the bed and she is up and alert. The ears are up and she's looking around like, "Did you hear that too?" And I thought, well, that was kind of weird. So as I start to get out of bed, it's like rock clacking. Clack, clack, clack. Clack, clack, clack. Did it 3 times. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" At this point, I'm practically hanging out the window. If I hadn't had a screen on the window, I'd have been out the window, because I'm looking around just trying to see, we have neighbors, but they're not that close. But it was just that very distinct rock clacking, and it's like, okay, maybe they come into these areas at night and they're not whooping, but they're communicating with rock clacks, because they could raid people's trash cans. We have a herd of deer that are just not scared of anything because nobody can hunt them here in town, right?
Mm-hmm. Same here in Springfield. We get them. There's a little park just down the street from the house. We get them there all the time.
Yeah. And so the deer, there's like this little road behind the house. And if you drive down it in the summer, they're standing in the trees looking at you like, "What the hell are you doing down on my road here?" So it's like, and the creek runs back up there. And I'm just thinking, okay, which I took a BFRO report of a few years ago down on the Finley River in Ozark. Kids, they're out parking, having a good time, and they're talking about the noise that's coming through the woods at them, and scared them to death. Well, there's houses there, but still there's enough cover that things could move through, especially at night, so I think they do come in closer sometimes than we think, because, we come in the house at night, and once you're in the house, you're done. They could walk through your backyard. If they don't leave tracks, you're never going to know it.
Right.
Especially if you got the TV on or your nose is buried in the phone, So I think they come closer than we think. We're just not being observant.
Yeah, I got a report from a guy that used to live out past you guys. They lived out toward Sparta.
Yeah.
When he got married, him and his wife spent a few nights at the old Riverside Inn when it was still standing.
Yes. Okay.
Right where that's at.
Yes.
And he said they were sleeping because it was cool. They were sleeping with the windows open, and they heard whoops and rock clacking coming from the river right there behind the Riverside Inn.
Yeah. And see, that's just right up the road from me, not far.
Road,
well, I know one time we did. So in October, they do a haunted walking tour here. And one of the guides from the Smallin Civil War cave here in Ozark talked about there's reports from the Civil War era of Bigfoot in the area. And I'm like,
Doesn't surprise me.
Well, yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh, and I mean, he was telling it, and it was like, that's interesting. That's definitely.
Look at the stories of the Ozark's Blue Man. Those predate the Civil War, and that's just right down there in Ava.
Yes.
Ironically, what they call Booger County.
Exactly.
Didn't I just do a little snippet of that on one of our shows?
You did.
Yeah, they literally call that Booger County.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Douglas County.
Yeah, exactly. Booger County out there, and it's like, okay, they all had to be seeing something to call it that,
Well, I mean, I've told DA this before. There's a road here in Pickens County where I live called Booger Branch Road.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Well, yeah, I was told that a long time ago. It's like if you pull out the old maps and you look for things that are devil, devil's this, devil's that, devil.
Devil's Den State Park.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's a reason they're naming.
I lived out by Devil's Den in Fordland.
There's a place here in Missouri. It's a wildlife management area called Devil's Backbone.
Yes.
And there's a section of trail in Devil's Backbone that they have closed because they call it the Screaming Trail, because people that go down it at dusk get screamed at.
That's really funny that you bring this up. So on one of the BFRO expeditions, we were in that area, and part of our group went down to Devil's Backbone, and they recorded samurai chatter.
Nice.
Yeah, it was faint.
We heard samurai chatter in Combs Ferry on Table Rock Lake, but we didn't get it recorded.
Well, last spring when we were up there, Larry was down. He stayed in a cabin, and he was talking to a gentleman that was camped right on the river. And they got to talking, and the gentleman told him the night before, so it would have been Tuesday night, that he said, I thought there were monkeys on the river. He said there was monkey chatter going on all over out here. So,
Wyatt Estes, who's in the chat tonight, he's one of our moderators, good friend of mine. Him and Richard Brucia, they go fishing late at night on Table Rock Lake, and there's a place, I think they call it Monkey Cove is what they call it. But every time they go out there at night, they hear what they describe as monkeys chattering.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't you say that first night that we were out that some of the people sitting around the creek thought they heard something that sounded like either laughter or chatter or something while we were all out going our different ways, Marianne?
They could have been, yeah, because I know that the camper, the guy that was camping for sure had heard it the night before. And
maybe that's what I was remembering. I was thinking it was some of our group that actually said they heard it, but maybe it was just that.
I think it was him. I think it was him. He had heard it the night before we got there. So, it was definitely something going on up there, but yeah, that area up there is so active, so active. I think at some point I'm going to have to switch it up and go up there in the fall and see if it's the same in the fall, as it is in the spring.
I seem to get the most activity in the areas I go to in the spring and in the fall when it's cooler.
Yes.
In the summertime, there's still activity, but it's not much. We played a shofar down in Moon Valley in the middle of summer, hot as hell out. We played the shofar, and we could hear a response, but it was way down the valley, and it never came any closer. So I want to go back out there and try the shofar again at night, when it's a cooler time of the year.
Yeah.
But then
I think during this
blazing hot, and look what we got into.
I think, a lot of the times, I think they still move around. They still have to eat, but I just don't, unless it's something that really piques their interest, I don't think they go too far.
Well, and with Combs Ferry, it's a relatively small area, so there's probably not as much room for them to hide and be away from,
Yeah.
And there's seven of us out there on that little peninsula.
They're definitely going to come
right on top of each other. Yeah, we're kind of like right on top of each other, basically. So, because when we shined the Richard's big spotlight on the shoreline when we were pulling out, how many would you guess, DA?
Probably at least a dozen, all surrounding the area where we'd just been. And they were all fairly high off the ground, like 6 to 8 feet.
That's wild.
We tried to get pictures of it, but there was like a light fog on the lake, so all we got was that patchy fog, and you could see a few specks through the fog, but
Yeah.
The images really don't show you much, but does not do it justice because
Right.
I guess the camera was more picking up the light reflecting off the fog, and we were seeing the shore. And yeah, that was a almost a brown pants moment. That was definitely a butt puckering moment.
Yeah. I hear that.
At that particular moment, pardon my French, ladies, but you couldn't have pulled a needle out of my butthole with a John Deere tractor.
Oh yeah, I understand.
We were like, look at that's where we were just standing.
Yep. Yep.
Robbie and I are looking at each other like it's a good thing that we brought 3 out on the last trip because we were talking that the boat was only going to be able to carry 2 of us at a time. There were 3 of us left on shore, and I was telling them this was my boneheaded idea. I'll stay. Send the boat back for me. And Robbie was arguing with me. He was like, "Nope. If anybody's going to stay, it's going to be me. Your wife will kill me if you." But we came to the conclusion that if one of us had stayed, they wouldn't have been there when the boat got back.
Probably not. Probably not.
But if it'd been me, they might not have found me, but they'd have found a whole shitload of empty brass.
Right. Exactly. You wouldn't have went willingly.
I was going down swinging. Maybe an empty 1911 somewhere nearby.
Yep. I understand that. I hear that. So, but yeah, I think, it's time to get back out in the woods and do some things. It needs to cool off so that we're not melting when we're out there. But,
I think my son and I are going to go down to Joe Ball tomorrow on Table Rock because I still owe you a video. And I've been having to wait for because he's my cameraman. I've been waiting for him to have actually have a day off. He works for FedEx, and they've been working them like demons this summer. So he's got a day off the next couple of days. So we're going to go down to Joe Ball tomorrow and see if we can shoot some videos and maybe find anything cool and just kind of make a day of it down there.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be interesting. So
we find something. I could stand to sweat a few pounds off. It ain't going to hurt me none. I just need to make sure I take plenty of water.
Yep, that's true. A
little sweat didn't hurt nobody.
Yep, that's true.
My uncle Buddy, who I based the character Jay Matoska in my books off of, he was married to my aunt. He wasn't my uncle by blood. He was married into the family. But Uncle Buddy was full blood Cherokee. And I learned everything I learned from hunting. I learned from Uncle Buddy. But Uncle Buddy, he again also one of the hardest working dudes I ever met. I mean, he was a logger. He owned his own logging company for years.
Oh, yeah.
So you won't lose the irony on him saying this, but he used to joke and say, there's one day a year that if you sweat, you will die, and I'm not taking any chances.
Oh, that's funny. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Funny stuff.
Yeah, I've never been to, be it when I was down there with you, Marianne, or any time that I've ever come to visit DA, I have never been to Missouri and been disappointed. There's always something that's happened, and it's a very interesting state.
Well, and that's kind of my whole thing is like, personally, I think Missouri is just very overlooked in what goes on. And that may be partly because people just don't want to tell it, because they don't want, all these people coming in, I mean, I get that. I get that so much. But there's so many things that go on here, whether it's, Bigfoot or, the alien stuff. It's all over the place. It's unreal, and there's so DA, you've heard of Marley Woods, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever
been wanting to go down there?
I hear it's not easy to get into.
What I hear too.
And I hear it's not where we think it is. That we're intentionally misled.
Wouldn't surprise me because the people that research there don't just want anybody showing up.
I've also been told that it is the Skinwalker Ranch of Missouri.
Heard that as well. I've kind of referred to Moon Valley as that, considering they've had actual cannibals out there. And we've heard everything from babies crying in the woods to being lured away from camp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of that was Osage land for God, time immemorial until the westward expansion drove them off the land. That was all Osage land, and supposedly even before it, this area was quote unquote settled, that area had a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Marianne, Roxanne Delgado wants to know if you've gotten any reports from Southwest Missouri.
Oh yeah. Was that the one that was asking about Joplin and Neosho or Lamont up in that area? Yeah, they're all over. And I've got some more investigators here in the state. Larry Newman works over around Joplin, Carthage, Nevada area. He kind of works that. He's even over into Oklahoma a little bit, northern Arkansas. But yeah, he gets stuff all the time. I'm always getting stuff across the southern part of the state that it just all the time, something's going on that we're getting stuff. It might be 2 or 3 months before something pops up, but something will show up every little bit, going on around here. And it's funny because there are parts of over there around Joplin and Neosho and all of that are so not Bigfoot habitat, but still they show up in that area over there too. So, it's like what we think is habitat isn't always the way we think it is, because they're everywhere. They're just everywhere. And if people would actually start paying attention, they'd be surprised at how many of them are really out there. But like I said, that goes back to too many people stuck on their TV and their cell phones.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
So tell us a little bit more about y'all's show and what you got going on, or anything special coming up for it. You got it.
Well, like I said, we're going to pre-record, and we're going to be recording tomorrow night with Wayne Tothero. He's going to be on tomorrow night. We're going to talk about.
Wayne's a good dude.
Yeah, Wayne's funny. I spent a weekend with him and a bunch of his Manimal people in Gatlinburg. So yeah, that was fun. We had a lot of fun. But Wayne's going to be on. We're going to discuss some things with him. And then we're probably not going to start doing lives until November, because we just have so much stuff going on right now with expeditions, the conference, and things like that we just, lives aren't going to be able to be, in our lives until probably 1st of November. But we've got a few people. We've got emails sent out, to everybody to get them on the show, which that includes both of you, so that you guys can come on and we can give you a hard time on our show. And, everybody needs to come over to our channel and, subscribe and like and share,
Right.
Y'all know the drill of how that works. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of podcasts out there that are just women doing Bigfoot. So we thought, well, let's try that, and see how that goes. And, you guys both know me. I want to teach people, it's like the more we can educate people on how to go out and look for these and collect evidence and do those kinds of things, right. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to educate, get out on the platform, educate people, through the female perspective of it and the things that we have and, the expeditions. And of course, when we do all of that, we're going to be videoing and having things, come in from them. We always have some kind of, as Robbie can tell you, we've always got something going on when we do an expedition, whether it's Bigfoot or not.
Sometimes you just find a UFO.
Right? Exactly. So yeah, that's what we've got going on with that. And like I said too, we were telling you earlier, Jennifer's going to do, Jen's Weird Missouri. She's doing all the research on that right now, and those are going to be just little shorter episodes.
First one's going to be about Potosi, Missouri.
Yeah, we're going to do the Potosi cannibals.
there was cannibals here in Dallas County back in 2020. But here's a weird one you could look into, Jen. Another weird Missouri. The history behind Ha Ha Tonka State Park.
Oh yeah, I was just actually this morning. That's actually on my list. Yeah.
The guy that built it refused to let local artisans work on it. He brought stonemasons from Scotland and Ireland to work on the house. And at the time of his death, he had the largest occult library collection on this side of the Mississippi. And on his death, that entire collection was donated to the University of Missouri at Kansas City. And it is still, after almost 70 years, being cataloged and will not be released to the public.
Wow. I did not know that. That's wild.
And he made his millions off power. He owned numerous like powerhouses, generators. Yet for a guy who made his money off of power generators, he fought tooth and nail to keep Bagnell Dam from being built, even though it's a massive power generator. And we think we know why now. We believe that most of his occult rituals were done in a cave system beneath that, and that cave is now underwater.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was going to say there's a cave directly down the cliff, just kind of down in the cove, that was a smuggler's cave.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, that guy, there's a weird history behind Tonka.
Yeah.
Cool. I can't wait for that. Because
Yep, that's definitely that's on my list for sure.
Cool.
I will definitely watch that episode to see what you uncover. Because I've started digging, but I haven't really put a lot of time to the research. But I've always been fascinated by that place. I've been going there since I was a kid. And there's something bizarre about that place. And strangely enough, it is one of the few places that are state parks where not only do they refuse to allow you in there after dark, they lock it up.
Yep.
That's wild. Yeah.
And there's an area on one of the trails near Ha Ha Tonka that's referred to as the Devil's Kitchen.
Well, of course there is.
Of course it is. Of course.
Well, and over there around Potosi, there's a Monkey Mountain over there also.
There's another Monkey Mountain up near Warrensburg.
Yep. And it's like I was reading something that talked about that, and supposedly Lewis and Clark named those.
Right.
Okay. Now, where did those two see monkeys?
Too high for monkeys to climb.
Yeah, that was the whole story.
There's no monkeys in Missouri.
No. And Lewis and Clark would have not seen monkeys. They were not worldly like that. So, yeah, it's like that makes no sense. But okay.
But yeah, if you look at the old plat maps of Missouri, there are hundreds of places like Devil's Den State Park or Devil's Backbone or the Devil's Kitchen. There's just so many places with devil or Wildman or crazy things like that.
Booger.
In the title. Booger County, There's just so many places that have these words associated to it, and those have got to be there for a reason.
Like, where did those come from? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that, and that's what I've heard. I mean, that's what I've heard from people say. The old timers called them that for a reason, and the name stuck for a reason.
There's a place up on the other side of Lebanon that we heard about when I was a kid, and they said there's a cave there and a spring, and they said the spring water is just super pure, and the place is called Rattlesnake Springs. And so we went looking for it. It was wintertime when we found it. And we found the cave and we found the spring, and it was absolutely beautiful. I'm like, I don't get why they call this place Rattlesnake Springs. Granted it was wintertime, but I'm like, this place is just awesome. I'd camp out here. Well, that summer we went back and we got about 50 yards from the place and could hear the rattles. I'm like, yeah, I don't think we need to get any closer. I think I know why this place is called Rattlesnake Springs now.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, hello, Harvey.
Oh,
sorry, I've got a visit from Pup Dog.
Mine's starting to stir because it's starting to lightning and thunder. We might actually get a little.
That's probably why he's in here.
Yeah.
He's looking to get under the desk.
Yeah, I'm sure mine will be doing that before long too. But yeah, it's interesting just to look on the old maps and see some of the names. It really is. Kind of like, wow, that okay.
The thing that's pretty fascinating about stuff like that is prior to 1957, the name Bigfoot didn't exist.
Right.
But if you look at some of those old newspaper articles from like the 1800s, there's all sorts of reports of Wildman attacks or old hermit attacks farmer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you look back at those and you're like, well, they didn't know what to call it.
Yeah. Now, so they call them Wildmen or boogers. I mean, they didn't know what they were, so they're boogers, Yeah. So exactly, that's where all that comes from, because you're right. I mean, the Bigfoot, that terminology wasn't what you said, the late 50s, is when that shows up. So anything before that, they had to have something else for it. So, but interesting stuff.
Like the term dogman wasn't until like the early 90s when it was coined. Before that, werewolf or wolfman or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I like the term werewolf or wolfman much better. Dogman, just I don't know. We were talking about that somewhere the other night. We might have been on Wayne's show, and it's like I don't know. I grew up with werewolf, right? I like that so much better.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
What is the scariest experience you've had? That's for both of you.
Oh, I don't know. I don't scare easy. I don't know, because scary's a relative term.
Scariest experience that I've ever had, does it have to be supernatural? Or can it be made by another human being?
Well, whatever scares you the most, I suppose.
She's going to tell on me. She's going to tell on me is what she's going to do.
I have no idea. No, really? No, not you and your child. You coercing your child to play the meanest trick that you could ever play on your so-called best friend. Maybe.
Well, tell me the story.
Okay, so I used to be Mary Ann's assistant manager. Coming in one morning to do my open. Going through to the back through the stock room to turn the lights on,
Of a creepy old door. Yeah.
Creepy back corner, right? Thank God it was morning, coming through the bathroom light. And all of a sudden this giant black figure just comes out of the shadows at me. And I cower like a little bitch, screaming, "Who the fuck are you?" And this one over in the corner cackling just like that. And then Stewart felt so horrible. He's like, "Oh my God." And I'm just like, "You're dead to me." Yeah.
Yeah, we had gone into the store quite early and I made sure he was completely wrapped in black. And I told him, I said, if she runs, you have to catch her before she gets to the front door because she can't call the cops on us.
Oh my God. I was so disappointed in myself that I folded like a cheap suit.
She would call me every Friday morning after that. "Where are you?" "At home drinking my coffee." She's like, "Your ass better stay there."
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had PTSD for a while after that,
I guess my most supernatural was where I grew up in Webster County when I was in high school. What I was told was a panther scream outside in our back wooded area. Probably not now a panther scream.
Probably not.
Panthers don't scream like that.
Probably not.
So
Yeah, the thing that I think it wasn't necessarily scary was in high school, and back roading it, like we said, and a friend of mine, we were just out running around, enjoying ourselves, and we had got out of the truck to go to the bathroom, right? And we're out in the middle of nowhere. We leave the doors open, no big deal. There's nobody coming because, good Lord, who knows how far back we were, right? And it was the weirdest thing because we're both, all of a sudden we both are like, oh my God, we both are like, what? And it's like the road's moving. It was the weirdest thing. It looked like the gravel road was moving underneath the truck. The truck wasn't moving, but it looked like the gravel road was moving. And we're standing out there in the middle of nowhere looking at this road. We were not drinking. We weren't doing anything like that. We were just out driving around, enjoying ourselves. And, after a couple of minutes of watching this, we just both got our butts in the truck and got out of there. Because I don't know what it was. I mean, you could just stand there and I don't know if it was an optical illusion. I mean, we were out in the middle of nowhere and it was dark. And
I think I can explain that.
Do what?
I think I can explain that.
Okay, go ahead.
They were spiders. There are places here in Missouri where at certain times of the year when they breed, you'll see literally thousands of them crossing the road. And it looks like, I've heard people say that it looked like the road was moving.
Yeah. I've seen some of that, not to the extent of this, but I don't think it was spiders because, I mean, you could see the rocks. I mean, it looked, because it was a gravel road that we were on. I don't know. It was weird. There was just we never could explain what happened. We went back there different times trying to see if it would happen again. And it just happened that one time. So I'm not really sure what it was, but it was definitely bizarre for sure. So
that's freaky though.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, if it was spiders or something supernatural, either way, it's a place I don't want to be.
right. I'm not going back.
Yeah. And when what did we do? We went back, we went back.
Me and some buddies of mine were up by Richland, Missouri, walking backwoods, and there was an old, what used to be a train track back there, from a spur line that they'd stopped using years before, and we heard just as plain as I'm talking to you, we heard a train whistle coming down the track, like an old steam, like boop, boop.
Wow, yeah.
Heard it, and we're like, there ain't no way there's a half the tracks are missing. And we stood there for a while. We heard it for a while, but it never got any closer. And then finally it just stopped. But we never saw anything go by, and that was the only train track around for miles.
Yeah, wild.
And it wasn't like a modern train. It sounded like the old steam whistle.
Yeah.
Because I've heard those many times. I used to work at Silver Dollar City. I know what that steam whistle sounds like.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no
I can hear it now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's like I said, we live in a very weird area. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. And, it's like you wonder.
Fault activity in river systems and underground water and ley lines and all kinds of good stuff.
So it's like there's no wonder all this stuff goes on in this area. I mean, it's the perfect mix, perfect place for it to all happen.
And the Ozarks are old. The Ozark Mountains are actually one of the oldest mountain ranges on the planet. They're older than the Rockies by almost 1 billion years.
Yep. They've just been worn down over time.
At one time, they were supposedly the size of the Rockies, but they're They've been worn over time, and there's still areas where you can clearly see these were mountains at one point, but the deep hills and valleys hold a lot of secrets in the Ozarks.
They do. Definitely.
There's some buddies of mine and I were camping, and we had a deer camp in the Mark Twain, and this was 87, 88, and we were camping. Went there for deer season. We would go out there and spend a week. And one morning we got up in deer camp, and there were 6 or 7, I think it was 7 coyote skulls around our camp. And the weird thing was that was the year that none of us got a deer.
I had coyotes one time out in our front yard when I was in junior high. And I remember my mom and I standing on the front porch just listening to them. And I don't know, 50 feet away, 100 feet away, maybe 75 feet away. That was kind of terrifying.
I heard coyotes from my backyard last night, and I live in Springfield. I was out in the backyard with Harley, and they were to the north of us. Something like they were over near about where Prime is at.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we live close to Cherry and 65.
Okay.
We live just off Cherry in one of those neighborhoods near 65.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out there with the dog, and I was listening, and it was kind of distant at first, but then they seemed to get a little closer, and I had to listen. Because Harley was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dang, that sounds like coyotes." And then as they got a little closer, I'm like, "Yeah, that's a pack of coyotes." But they got to be in town, considering where they were at.
That's wild. Yeah. Now that's one thing I don't hear down here. I mean, I've had a wild turkey in my backyard. Like I said, I've got the deer, that kind of stuff. The ridiculous amount of possums, that kind of stuff, but no coyotes, luckily, so.
Well, you also have big old giant dogs in your backyard as well.
Well, that doesn't keep the possums and the cats and everything else out either, but.
They're dumb.
Marianne, have you ever been out to the Union Cemetery campground?
I don't believe so.
I didn't even know about it till just a few years ago. A buddy of mine told me about it, and we went out there, and it's a cemetery that was after the Battle of Wilson's Creek. The Union camped over here near 65 and I-44. It's a little ways back, but there's a graveyard there, and most of the graves are unknown. They don't know who they buried. They don't know who they buried there after the battle. And I've been down there, and the whole place just has a weird vibe to it. Mm-hmm. And we collected EVPs there, and I was and there's no power lines out there anywhere. Sure. But I got a EMF spike off a tombstone that went all the way up into the red and stayed there for about 20 seconds.
Oh wow! Yeah, no.
The one word I would most used to describe that place is lonely. It just feels lonely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to go down there, I'll be happy to take you to it. But wear bug spray. Because last time I went down there, I got eat up by chiggers.
Oh yeah, hate those things. Yeah, we're gonna have to get Jennifer back down here and do a weekend trip of hitting all the weird spots and.
We'd be happy to take you to some of ours.
We'll do it as soon as the weather cools off. Maybe we can get a long weekend, Jennifer, and we can
get Robbie and Doc here and have a regular old outing of it.
There we go. And we'll make sure that Robbie and I have handlers. That way
we've got that covered. My son Noah, his job title when we go out is he's the official Robbie Wrangler. That's Noah's job, to keep an eye on Robbie so he doesn't wander off and get lost.
Yeah, I guess my handler is Robert. He's usually about 2 to 3 feet behind me at all times. He's he's within arm reach. He could jerk me back real quick if he had to. Because I've been known to take off in places I probably shouldn't, but it's all good. It's all good. But yeah,
hey, that's how you come back with the best stories,
right?
Or you don't come back.
Well,
Or you,
I
you become the
guess
story. Right.
I should start wearing a GoPro. That way, if something happens, you'll at least have the footage of it,
Have a
right?
record of it.
You either come back with a great story or you become a missing 411. It's a win-win either way.
Right? Either way.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, that sounds good. We have to do that after the bugs are not as, thick, and
Right.
we'll make a weekend out of it.
Sounds like a plan. Well,
Yeah.
folks, ladies, I've really thoroughly enjoyed having you all on. We're at the top of the hour. We're going to start winding things down. We generally go about 2 hours because we've noticed in our time doing this that after the 2 hour mark, viewership starts falling off pretty fast. So we generally hit 2 hours and call that good. But we would love to have y'all back when we can do it again before the conference and promote the conference again. But you folks, check out their channel. It'll be popping up any second now in the chat. Also, make sure if you want to meet any. Well, Robbie won't be there. Jen, are you going to be at the conference?
I am not going to make it to the conference. No, I'm hoping to get back down in April.
But if you'd like to hear some awesome speakers, or meet Marianne or myself or Wayne, or there's a whole line. Marianne, tell us about the line of speakers that are going to be there.
So we've got RPG coming in this year. He's going to MC and speak. And we've got Wayne's going to be there. Wayne Tothero, he's going to be there. He's speaking. And then, of course, DA yourself, you're going to be there. David Zagan is going to be there. He's going to be speaking also. And of course, Shane Carpenter, local, he's going to be there. And then myself and Larry Newman are going to be doing a little bit with the BFRO. And then everybody's going camping afterwards. So that's the great thing, is you get to go hang out with the speakers for 4 days. And the way to do that is you guys have to reach out to me on Facebook. It is Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference. That's the only way that you can get those tickets. And those tickets, I think I have 6 openings available. That's all I've got left, because I only take a small group out there to do that. Everything else is on Eventbrite. The VIP night, the day of conference, that is all on Eventbrite. But if you want to camp out and do that, it is all on Eventbrite. The meet and greet, the VIP dinner, that's at 7 p.m. Here in Ozark at the Elks Lodge, and you have to get your tickets for that on Eventbrite.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. I've gone to the events before. It's a good time. You guys are going to enjoy it. So make sure to get your tickets. Get them quick, because the spaces are running out fast. But again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We had a fun time. Love hearing about the stories. Those videos. That video was creepy in that eye shine. Maybe next time we'll have even more videos to share. And
right.
Who knows? We won't have more than just videos.
Right. Hopefully.
Lord knows we go to the right places to find the evidence.
Right.
But yeah, I still thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us. It was a really great time.
Well,
Folks, we appreciate all of you in the audience tonight that hang out with us. It's been an awesome night. We really enjoy having each and every one of you guys with us. And if you're not subscribed to their channel, please go do so. And if you have not subscribed to ours, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. The algorithm is still showing that about 45% of the people that watch our videos are not subscribed to the channel. It doesn't cost you a thing. Just hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you as part of the Nightmare Hunter Nation. So again, thank you guys for being here. We're going to start winding things down. One of the last things I always do at the end of every show is I like to discuss the 22 a day foundation. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is 22 too many. Check on your friends and family who wore a uniform. Doesn't matter what branch, what service, how they served. First responders too. Anybody that wore a uniform to protect our freedoms or protect our safety here at home, reach out, check on them, let them know you think about them, let them know you care, because 22 a day is 22 too many. Let's get 22 back down to 0 where it needs to be. So folks, again, appreciate everything y'all do. Hope you guys will be back with us. What is tonight? Is this Saturday?
It is.
Yeah. Hope you guys will join us Monday for Monday Mayhem. We'll be adding more to the story on Monday. And on Wednesday night, we will have, many-time best-selling author and 5-time Bram Stoker Award winner Jonathan Mayberry will be on the show in the Author's Lounge. So I hope you guys will come in. Jonathan's a fantastic writer and just a really super dude. So I hope you guys will join us for that. And well, we got plenty more to be announcing coming soon. So again, thank you guys for coming with us. We're going to close her out with a toast, and it's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart because the song that it comes from is an old Irish drinking song called "The Parting Glass." But when you listen to the lyrics, it's not really just talking about saying goodnight to people at the end of the day at the bar. It's talking about saying goodbye to the ones we've lost along the way. And just keep that in mind, especially when we talk about the 22 a Day Foundation, because I've buried far too many friends under a folded flag. But we'll close her out with the toast. And it doesn't matter what you're drinking, just raise a glass or whatever. And the quote says, "But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Good night, everyone. Slán Jamal, and we'll see you guys on Monday night. Good night."
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.